Hi, we're at Lordship Hub Eco Building, situated in one of Haringey's 25 green flag locations, with Joan, who runs the hub.
Well, I wouldn't say I run the hub, it's a collective effort.
Okay, but are you one of the main staying people that run the hub?
Well, let's say I'm one of the oldest standing members, but that doesn't mean I do more than anyone else.
I wouldn't suggest that at all. I know you've been here from the start of the project as a friend of Lordship Rec. So Joan, tell us how the project started, because we are sitting in this magnificent building which, and I quote, Anne Thorne Architects have designed a building for Lordship Rec that use a palette of renewable materials, from low impact timber foundations and primary frame to natural installation materials and non-toxic finishes such as clay, plasters, rubber flooring and natural paints. I mean, that just sounds like it should be our home, doesn't it?
It does indeed. I mean, if we all did live in homes like that, life would be very different. Yes. Well, the Friends itself started in 2001 because the park was in a terrible neglected state at that time, and we all loved the landscape of the wreck, so we took it on and started campaigning from 2001 really for regeneration. And because there were so many people locally involved in that campaign, and we had some huge festivals to restore the wreck in 2008, and because we did so much work and there were so many local people involved, the council was able to apply to the Heritage Lottery Fund, who really appreciated the amount of community input there had been. And there was then lots of meetings to decide how we wanted the park to look and what we wanted to be in the middle of it, which we decided was an eco building.
It's wonderful. So how much money did you actually raise? Because that was quite I mean, I know that was a challenge, but I understood they raised a substantial amount of money, and then they had the support from the Heritage Fund. Could you remember roughly?
I think the Heritage Lottery part of it was 4.1 million, but I think the whole thing altogether came to about 7. The council raised some match funding and other funding from various places. But yeah, the Friends had an input in the application to the bid, so we did play quite a big part in it.
£7 million raised for a local project, I think, is fantastic.
Well, it is, yeah.
And you know, when you talk about sustainability, this beautiful building, and it does feel wonderful to be here, has been sustained and maintained. And we had female architects, I understand, who were the developers.
It was designed by Anne Thorne Architects, who were local to here. I think they were in Muswell Hill at the time, and it was designed. There were 2 women particularly who had a big part in designing it, yes, it's quite a women's project in a way, because not only was it designed by women, but also the straw bale works which built the walls of the place were also a women's organisation at the time. So that it's
got the female touch.
A female touch, yeah, and it's quite it's a warm, cosy building. So
yeah, it is a warm, cosy building.
It feels like it's got its arms around you.
I like that. It definitely feels like that, and it actually says that the building, the core building, it's built to run on the minimum energy, so everything it does is efficient. And I think you actually mentioned it's CO2 neutral as well, didn't you?
Well, in terms of the straw is holds CO2, so that's what the building is made from, and obviously it's a renewable material, so it's not used for much else than making things, because what it is, it's a waste product from food production. So like from wheat or oats or any of the things that we eat, we don't eat the stalks, and animals don't eat the stalks. Animals eat hay, but they don't eat straw, so because it's too woody. So it's basically, we're using material
sustainable,
a wonderful building. So
that's right. So it's actually built for, developed with sustainability at its core.
It is, yes. The whole of the wreck has got fantastic natural areas, and we put a lot of effort into maintaining the biodiversity and encouraging wildlife, and we put in things like meadows and brought the river back, and planted an orchard and things like that to make this whole wreck very green and very biodiverse. So it makes sense to have a building that fits in with that whole concept, really.
Yeah, for the community. So what sort of activities take place? I know we've got COVID-19 pandemic, but prior to the COVID-19, what sort of activities actually takes place in the building?
Well, we've got the cafe, and that's open 7 days a week when it wasn't COVID. At the moment, it's only open as a takeaway. So we're hoping to come back with that soon. Then it's got 2 rooms which are for hire, and before COVID we had about 40 different classes running from those rooms every week, from like children's, babies' activities to old people's activities, chair exercises, Nordic walking, or developmental stuff for babies, or yoga, a lot of yoga, Pilates. All the tranquil exercising, well-being classes and activities. And also we are a base for all the community groups and park groups and things that are operating around here. We're a free base for them. And also there's other organisations that use the hub on a regular basis, like AIL, who use it as a base for their clients with learning difficulties, who are able to come out into the community and be in this building and have lovely walks around the wreck. So it's a very useful building for the community, as well as we organise events and different groups organise events, and we partner up with them and help them, support them running events inside the building and in the wreck itself. So
that's right.
It's the very heart of the park. Really.
It is the heart of the park. And you did mention that it is a cooperative, and we like the collaboration and cooperation. So who else is in the cooperative with the hub?
Well, we have about 8 people on our board, and they're all volunteers. So the board oversee the strategic direction of the hub and work with the staff and with probably 40 or so volunteers.
It's quite a few, isn't it?
Run the operational side of the hub too. So we all try and work in a way where people have got equal input, and we try to. I mean, it's a very hard thing to do because people aren't used to taking responsibility as a group or as a team. So it's always a struggle to try and maintain that way of working. And we have a flat management structure, so we don't have someone that's like in charge. Although we have a board that makes decisions, but we hope that we can run the place by consensus, really.
Well, it fits in with the whole sustainability and the whole eco that we want consensus with staff as well. But it mentions here, it talks about the orientation and layout of the building responds to the surrounding landscape and the topography of the site, which maximises passive solar gain with a glazed south facade. So you really have got a lovely shade coming, especially into this room, which is one of the rooms in it. So I wanted to ask you, I know it's probably a difficult choice, but which is your favourite room?
I don't know, really. I mean, I like it in here. It feels airy and quiet, and and I love looking out and looking up the hill, and you can see people approaching, and you think, oh, they're coming to the hub, or they're coming to enjoy the lake or the outdoor gym or something. So it's really nice being in here and hearing the children playing in the playground. It's a lovely spot.
It really is beautiful. But we are here for our Go Green Eco Week. So one of the things that we wanted to talk to you about was the renewable energy is generated by roof-mounted photovoltaic panels.
Yes.
So talk to us about them, because that's a definite
Well,
green.
I'm not an expert on those things, but we do have photovoltaic strips on the roof, which is a green roof. Unfortunately, green roofs need a lot of maintenance, and this one has actually not taken off as it should. So it looks, it's not, I don't know. I mean, I don't really know much about it, but you do need to look after it, like you have to maintain any wild meadow. So it doesn't just look after itself, and it didn't really work out properly, but it is theoretically, and that hopefully one day we'll get some money and we'll be able to make it into the green roof that it's supposed to be. But if you were to be up in the air, I think,
which we're going to be a bit later on.
The design of the hub was supposedly based on leaves, so it should look like 2 leaves or something.
That's
from
interesting.
Above. Yeah, because it's kind of rounded. I don't know, I've not been up there, but that's what I'm told.
Oh, okay.
And yes, we've also got heat exchanger.
Talk to us about that, the heat exchanger.
We've got a ventilator system which takes the air in and takes it out and cleans it and everything. So
I know you mentioned you've got triple glazed as well.
We've got triple glazing. We've got doors that are about 4 inches thick, so that you don't lose heat. And so it's pretty well covered. So I did notice, Joan, that there was some really good points that were mentioned for. Just wanted to share this with our viewers, where the benefits of a store bale infills, and it really talks about a high insulation qualities, a high sound absorbent, and I think our sound people, our film crew noticed that. Simple, easy to learn construction techniques. But what I like is inexpensive material that is usually available locally. That's true, yes.
So I would not have imagined that.
Well, obviously in London, you would have to go to the edges to find farms, but there are farms around London, aren't there? So just outside the M25, and maybe it's not something that's you've got to get from China or
needs to be imported.
New Zealand or something.
That's right. That impacts on our carbon footprint as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it says that it's natural and completely biodegradable material. Renewable materials need only a single growth season, with grain head only harvest as a cash crop.
So that's what I was saying before, that the cash crops exist, like wheat, it's used, and oats and all the cereals that are used in our cereals and our bread, etc. But they only use the top. They only use the ears of wheat. They don't use the long stem. So the long stem is there for people to use. So that's why every year you'll get a whole load of new stems, which then can be harvested and used for roofs and buildings like this.
That's great. Well, we're going to go outside in a moment and take a look at the grounds, but we just wanted to mention one of the other features, because we are celebrating Go Green, where it says that the indoor air quality and energy saving, at least 75% of heat from the exhaust air is transferred back to the fresh air again via a heat exchanger, and air tightness of the building to avoid leakage. Now that has got to be something that is definitely sustainability, green. That's fantastic, isn't it?
It is really, and yes, I mean you will notice that it feels warm in the winter, and we don't have to have heating on really very high or anything like that. And I mean it is quite warm, obviously, when it goes up to 37 degrees
it's very
outside.
Hot, very warm then, isn't it?
we can at that point open all the windows and that. But yes, it's a fantastic building. We love it. I mean, it takes a bit of care to look after it. The walls are fairly soft and vulnerable, so they have to be refilled and things like that. But basically, I think it feels warm. It feels good.
It feels homely.
It feels,
feels welcoming.
Yes, it's something about
healing.
it.
It's got a real healing feel. Everything looks very natural.
It is.
And as you said, in this room, Joan, like you quite rightly said, we've got a beautiful view there, and it does feel very, very, very healing and actually very homely.
It is really. I think people appreciate that when they come in. It's a strange thing that buildings can affect your feeling of well-being, and
Good point.
you know, it's true that, you know, it's something architects like to take on board now, or the good architects, that,
The female
you know,
ones.
you can design a building, a hospital or a clinic or a hospice or something in a way that enables people to feel something through the actual
to have an
nature of the
impact on
building.
individuals' well-being overall.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Especially considering we're in the middle of Tottenham, which people would class as an urban area. I do believe what you said is important. People can realise they have a retreat, somewhere where we can come every day, get a cup of tea, take a class, or just relax.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, it's a terrible shame now with COVID that, you know, this place was a haven for people that felt isolated, or, you know, young parents or older people. They used to come here and sit and chat and have a cup of tea, come twice a day sometimes. And, you know, it's terrible for us to think that, you know, they're shut out.
I know.
And
That's
we
all
can't
going to
wait
change.
for it all to come back.
Definitely. That's going to be back soon. Joan, thank you so much. We're going to have a look outside to see some of the hedges, bushes and the landscape. Thank you.
You're welcome.